I quickly take a very important point which you highlighted, and that is all about the clinical legal education. Yesterday only we were talking that it is high time that we get rid of this scope, this particular nomenclature, and make it a little more broader in terms of the experiential education. Basically, the same thing, I think Jibril has talked about the same thing, that how we are looking at the model as a part of the pedagogy model to have a conceptual clarity as well as having the practical experiences. So rather using the word clinical legal education, can we replace it, or can we use the alternative term as an experiential education? Because that gives much more clarity, and clinical is, as you rightly pointed out, a little narrow approach. Now the house is open for a quick comment or observations on both these presentations, and you have.
We can use the other word for ourselves, but for Bar Council this is CLA.
Yes. Yes. We are hoping for the new bill to come, and there are some hopes which we probably think for the next 6 months to come. Let's see, how the legal education is going out of the clutches of the Bar Council of India, having new body in place. Let's hope for the
They
best.
won't have clutches.
They will have clutches, but better clutches. So any quick comment or observations? Yes, please.
One thought that comes to my mind is just in the spirit of going from conversation to action. What if everyone here was to commit to using different nomenclature? I mean, rather than put it out there somewhere, if everyone said, insofar as we are concerned, we agree to call this Justice Service Initiative or Justice Service Center, but not use the term. It might be small, but it's symbolic. It's like this group can take a decision because they're in a position to take certain decisions.
Tell me, in this whole new setup for schools, the clinical education is coming in the context of creating internationally capable lawyers for corporate firms. That's the reality of today's legal education. So changing the name, do you think we'll have any buyers for this name change?
I think that
If you have eight or 10 compulsory papers on commercial laws, do we have a compulsory paper on law and poverty? Is any school promoting that? These are not compulsory subjects. Compulsory subjects are those which corporate firms they will ask you, have you studied these courses before they give you placement? So just doing our own corner here that we have got the social justice, we've got all these big words there, but not challenging the whole structure in which this whole education is situated. Today students we at least had an optional course on law and poverty. I think today only NASA has a compulsory course on law and poverty.
We got this at a compulsory course on law and poverty. Bangalore.
So somewhere the scope of teaching those courses is decreasing. The scope of teaching commercial courses has expanded without any boundaries. And everybody is aspiring to go and also I think somewhere our fee structure is very responsible for the promoting the corporate practice. So we are not addressing these bigger issues. We are certainly, I'm not ever saying that semantic don't matter. They do, but only in the context it will be only symbolic.
And I think that you're absolutely right. It is not at all meant to say that something like this is going to be a solution to anything. But the alternative is that we walk away with absolutely nothing, not even symbols. So I'm saying, does it make actually sense to have a symbolic change versus nothing? Versus we actually go back into using certain language that is the same language? I'm not at all saying that's a solution.
No, I'm asking you other questions also. That are we, as a group, if we're looking to promote it, are we to also look at the whole structure of the legal courses, or are we only going to focus on the clinical papers and say these changes here, these methodology changes here, this whatever we deal with is only these 4 papers or these only clinic. What are the whole environment of the legal education? Whether there has to be any kind of, because somebody was asked me this question. I think in this call interview, the students took me around there. They said, ma'am, what do you have to say about all this social justice education in corporate law paper or in commercial law paper? Where are those questions in this group? We have not raised those questions and we are not even thinking of those questions. So somewhere it triggers me that thought that changing the name is a good thing, but then then being happy that we achieved this from this conference, for me that's not enough.
Of course.
What what complicates it, ma'am, is there's no one environment also, right, in legal education. There are multiple environments, right, even within the NLUs, right? It's not like all NLUs have the same environments, right? They operate under very different contexts, and then to say how should that start reflecting in our practices of justice education.
No, we're talking South Asia.
Yeah.
First, let's even India.
That's what I'm saying. That's how do we come up with something that is, I wouldn't say has equal relevance, but has some relevance for different contexts, and to be mindful that whatever we build is capable of that flexibility, right?
I just wanted to say that there is no need to get into binary. I think developed human species builds multiple identities. My question is, can you be a professor in law teaching criminology and also be a justice educator? Is there necessarily a contradiction between that? No. But I think somewhere we are very distinct about our identity. When people ask me, what's your primary identity? And I say, no, I don't want. I don't have a primary identity. I have several multiple identities. I am an OD specialist, but I am also a justice educator. I am also a paralegal trainer. And all that is part of my ecosystem and identity. I think what happens is when we are in an institutional context, we don't allow multiple identities and sort of silo us, then the battle royals begin. And therefore, to me, I think justice educator as an add-on, not add-on, as an additional identity. For those who want to take it, there should be a mechanism to allow them, and therefore I see this platform and this network building that identity as a powerful, meaningful force in the country. That there will be many serious professors who say we are justice educators, and we are also professors in law, we are professors in behavioral sciences, etc., etc. I think that, and I'm therefore saying, Sachin, that's where the articulation is very important, and building the metaphor, as you say, is very important. Once we are there, I think the whole system moves with this kind of powerful people.
My concern is also that in case of students, we are saying we need to motivate every single student to take up this work. But we are not saying I need to motivate each one of my teachers, especially teaching corporate law and all these other IPR papers, to talk about social justice there. That's not where my goal is. My goal is over towards students. But where is the goal among ourselves?
So, yeah, this is precisely, just quickly responding to that, how we develop that kind of a justice education discourse in all our classes, whatever we are teaching, how we are bringing that element, the way in which we had a discussion with Param few years back or few months back that, how can we bring the ethical concerns in each of the course that we are dealing with. So likewise, every course have that kind of a social justice concern or a justice issue. Whether our teachers are capable enough to, highlight those concerns and issues in the classrooms. So, that's the reason, how the, teachers training and teacher sensitization, faculty development program play a very vital role. And at the end of the day, if law school and a private university like us, we don't get any funding from the government, and our intake is 240 students. So I don't expect my all 240 students to be a justice professional at the end of the day. But from 240, if 10 or 15, if I'm able to sensitize them and they join some, social justice initiative, that is what my work is being done. I don't expect each of my students to get into this thing. That is not possible. And it's because everyone has. But the kind of an environment, the ecosystem that we create. I'm sorry I get into this thing. I think few of the, Param has to
in fact, I had faced this kind of a dilemma because I had taught quite a number of subjects in my 19 years. Initially, I was teaching private international law, which is conflict of laws, purely a municipal law and SPC subject. Then I got into public international law, then for some time administrative law and constitutional law. Then I felt that These are all statutory based which we are teaching, but my focus was even while teaching on this subject was different. Then I got into ethics and my own course. People used to say that, oh, you have changed the subject. So there is also another kind of binary that you are teaching clinical paper. So I am teaching code paper. So you are teaching elective. It's all same. No matter what subject you teach, no matter what treatment is treatment is given to a particular subject, if the conscience and the clear consciousness is towards bringing a sense of inclusion and collectivity and justice, if that thing is very clear in our heart and mind, there is no difference. People have to understand, and then they used to ask me, I said, you people think that I have hopped from one subject to another subject, but I have never hopped. I feel I am still teaching the same subject. Because for me it is justice which matters a lot. Be it public international, be it ethics, or be it private international, or be it school. It all means the same thing. So, but only one thing that I am very concerned about is we cannot create, that's my caution that I keep, which I would like to share here, is that I will not promote any kind of a self-aggrandizement or a selfish motive which tramples upon somebody's space. That I am very clear. I always say that you satisfy yourself according to the subject or the career, anything, but do not sit on somebody's head or somebody's neck and then try to expand a little bit. I think if we have this kind of a sense and feel that justice is the only goal, and whatever subject I teach and whichever treatment is given to that subject, I think we will not have any problem with it. We can solve all kinds of problems. That's what I think.
The point which Professor Sitaram has made also, that when he said we want to have LLB also, and the Vaisandra said if they will go in this, in our, I do not know how the reports are published in Legally India or whatever these other forum of information are. They are all saying how many students placed in top.
Yes.
We do not get information how many students join practice, how many students become judges. So that is either it is not put out by the schools or this is not picked up by the. I do not know how this works, whether we are giving, the schools are giving the press notes or whether they are picking their own. Somewhere the focus is not in the reporting on being proud of my students getting into these other. What is the primary goal is something else, and our funding, our fee structure, everything will be supported if you can read the money back. You are not going to read the money back by going into that. So somewhere I find a very major contrast between what we are aspiring for, the same thing with that when we say legal issuing objectives, these are objectives, but your outcome is focused on something very different.
That's precisely because we can share that the problem of this kind comes from there is this race going on, ranking of schools. Exact, and actually against that, it's precisely because, yes, precisely, see, I met a vice chancellor of a law school which is 4 years old. How can that law school be compared with a law school which is 20 years old? And then you say that you don't do anything. Each and every, then they said that we can't compare ourselves, we can't grow. I said you compare and rank the law school based on what you were 2 years before to what you are now. In that only it should be ranking done. Why I should be compared with the X and Y's? There is no comparison. Indian situation where a complex situation exists, best way would be motivation, not comparison, which kills the whole exercise. And each and every law school is so specific about faculty, so is driven by a faculty passion and an inspiration. That matters a lot. So that school is getting number 1, so you also do the same thing. But I am not cut out. My material is totally different. This kind of a thing we need to.
I think we just need to be careful to not other commercial laws from justice education, right? That I would think justice education is just as important to an M&A lawyer or a tax lawyer or an insurance lawyer, right? And in that sense, even if they choose, I would say that even if 80% of a graduating batch goes to a law firm or in-house position, if you can imbibe in them elements of justice education, I think that would make, there is a certain value, but the challenge is with students with those motivations in law school, very often misunderstood motivations in themselves. They realize it after 2 years or 2 years or 3 years or 4 years of working, that they're so disillusioned, they're burnt out, they're like, oh my god, you know, all this, what I imagined and what, right? So the challenge of exposing them, and I think that's the learning to take, that if we expose a bunch of very bright students coming to all these universities across the country, even if for whatever reasons, for fees, for family situations, whatever it might be, their realities might be, they might choose a high-paying job. If we can imbibe in them, even in the performance of those tasks as an M&A lawyer, or maybe after they've made enough money and they've settled their finances, when they decide to move out, you know. So I think we just be careful to mainstream justice education in, just like we talk of gender and sort of mainstreaming gender in all subjects rather than just teaching gender and the law separately, right, as a separate subject, rather than teaching the gender aspects of commercial laws or insurance or whatever, right? Similarly, I think that sort of mainstreaming is what might serve us better in terms of thinking of, even thinking of justice education, what does justice education mean for corporate law, right? Or the Companies Act, right? In terms of that might be a different, interesting direction to think through, rather than saying that justice education means only certain kinds of justice or certain kinds of outreach, right?
And I want strongly
For me, my Gandhikar from a student who rang me up after having gone through my courses and a law faculty. So she was in a corporate firm. So one evening she rings me up and says, ma'am, I'm working in this place. Now tell me, what is it that I can do for society being placed in this corporate firm? What is the kind of work? How can I make it, kind of relevant from the system? And I didn't have very clear answer as to, maybe when you're drafting, when you're the policy making, this is a junior fellow joined just now. What impact can she have on the company policies? But I had no answer. I did not know, and I don't think I know any better today also, that if somebody is working in a corporate firm and they want to promote that, so maybe in a free time can do pro bono work. These are all for me. I was just thinking on my feet, but I don't think we have any institutionalized answers to those questions. When students who have been exposed to the clinic, to the justice, injustice in the society, they want to have the job and still do some other things. I would need to start thinking on those.
If you see the
We
first
have
model
one,
of
we go to rapid it 5 years now.
if I can give this to you, if you see the first model of CSR propounded by Philip, reading the article, it looks like he is a justice person. If you see Brundtland report on sustainable development, she was thinking of industries. So people they centered their gravitas very deeply. It actually touches the core value, which is justice, which is cutting across all sections. If you do that, I think it can be done.
Just one thing, which is, in my own experience, like just recently right now, someone who was a classmate of mine who is now very senior in a company, like the number 2 of one of the largest companies in the country, largest corporate group, spent almost 6 months working with our organization to explore how the corporate group could be a platform for impact. So the point I'm making is that I found that now who can be a bigger change agent? Like, yes, she is head of a large corporate group, and she's working to try to make sure that that organization can gear itself to work in a particular area of impact. And she's a corporate lawyer. So I feel, I can't echo more strongly, because when I spoke to heads of like classmates and seniors and juniors who are now heads of companies, all of them, they say that in the list of things, they say the end goal for us is to use our organization as a platform for impact. That's what they want to do. So clearly some generational appetite is there, and I feel like, so therefore I feel we need to not leave that on the side, because in the future these are also going to be potential opportunities for impact.
May I?
Yes, please.
Just jump in. So I just also thank you. I've been listening to a great set of comments, and I just want to return back to Nupur and Sitaram and point out what I saw as a commonality in both of their comments, though they had very, very distinct approaches and vocabularies, right? I think both from the schizophrenic perspective and the experimental perspective, we are seeing in some sense the value of fighting rigidity. And it is the rigidity of existing bar council curriculums, existing practices of legal education, existing funding constraints, those in some senses are posing frustrations for what we want to do and what we think we should do and how we should sequence it, so on and so forth. Right? And so sticking on with this point that Ram brought in about an anthropology of justice initiatives and how does one respond in an appropriate schizophrenic way to the requirements of justice, I just wanted to tell you that going back to what Professor Pandey said, justice is always going to be impossible, right? When justice happens, it's magic and it's surreal and it's immediately vanishing already. So in that sense, can we ever have the answer that what will I tell this person who calls me at 10 o'clock and says, what can I do? No, we won't. We won't have that in advance. But if we have a motivation, if we have a scruple, a sentiment, a desire that we believe in the, we believe in the value of justice, then we will at least know that it's worth having that conversation, right? So I think, I just want to return back to what Sachin said. I think the symbolism is important. I think the big picture of a network is important. I think 5-year goals and 3-year goals are important. I think all of that stuff is important, right? And therefore, I mean, when I heard Ram, I was thinking of Deleuze and Guattari and schizophrenia and Thousand Plateaus. So rather than a big tree, I think we are all like grass waving in the wind, doing our little bit for justice in different ways. And we should be comfortable with all of those experiments together being a common or collective vision, if at all that's possible. Thank you for the extended time.
Quickly, I'll just say something. Yes, listening to all of you for the last 2 days, I think we've learned a lot. We're going back tomorrow, now all of us together, to see what needs to be done now, the further steps that need to be taken. What I realized was after listening to Nupur and is that there has to be a clarity on what is justice. First, we have to be clear for ourselves as a group what exactly we mean by justice education. So after listening to all of you, we are able to do that. Second thing is that we would like to see, one thing that didn't come out very strongly but it needed to come out is about research. Comparative research in the South Asian region, the legal research part of it. Somehow when we talk about legal research, we are not as advanced or as developed or as social science research that is happening. Somehow when people talk about legal research, they say, oh, it's not, if your legal research is not like us, we are very advanced, we are very defined. I think we need to just have a look at that again. The third thing that I wanted to say was that I did have a occasion to recently to do a justice initiative, and in that initiative was for 35 intellectually disabled orphan children who were physically, sexually abused, not for some time, for a long time, continuous time. And those children we rescued, and we had to negotiate with the courts, the government, the police, the societies, and also the management of the. With all these negotiations that we took, and we tried to give them justice as much as we could do. And that is an initiative that I think I put it out in a book form now, from exploitation to empowerment. And I'm quite happy, though we had to struggle, we faced a lot of problems, and that's when we realized that we as a group of people who wanted to give justice to this vulnerable group, we ourselves needed a lot of mentoring. We ourselves needed a lot of mental health interventions, because we had to face a lot during this time. So this is one aspect which Nupur also brought out, that we need ourselves to be to do mentoring, and also the students whom we are going to be asking them to go into this justice sector, they also need to be mentored. They also need to be made strong as those who will be able to face all this in life later on. So, and the other thing that I wanted to say was, yes, the aspect of mainstreaming justice education everywhere. I think civil contract, commercial, IPR, all these also can have justice education components in that. When we talk of IPR, yes, there is justice education in that. When we talk about contracts, yes, there is. So we can bring that as one way of bringing in justice education rather than a standard. Thank you.
Thank you. I request so.
I think Ashaman and Hiraj have covered most things I wanted to say, but I'll end with this, that I don't think we should try and, find one definition which will fit everyone, or, one idea that we can all work on. We all are in very diverse institutions, and not all our faculty may share the same values as us. We have, faculty members who may be right-wing, who may be, hardcore corporate as we call it, which is fine. But I think what we need to do, and I think that's where networking is really important, is that if there are colleagues, especially young colleagues in institutions who want to experiment, who want to try a new idea of justice education, however small it may be, whatever they call it, a clinic, a practicum, just a field visit, I think we should be able to facilitate it in some way and provide materials that they can refer to, and to know that they're not alone in this journey. I think that is what I would like to see going forward, because trying to change everyone or trying to come to some kind of an agreement is not a very practical way. So let us, I think we are all doing diverse things which we are permitted to do, and we should, having a network will probably make us more visible to more people who want to do similar things, and I think that is what we really need to facilitate. So I know that I'm going to be the last person on the panel to speak, so I would really, really like to thank Murvi for everything she has done. We've all been treated like VIPs.
My volunteers, my colleagues.
And of course, the fantastic team of student volunteers, the faculty members, the staff who have been so supportive, and the micromanagement which was done from those little bars of chocolate and a personal note written in each of our hotel rooms, which was so touching, to cake, it was a surprise for me yesterday since it was my birthday, and to the food, which was so delicious, and I'm so glad we had activity sessions in the afternoon to keep us awake, to everything. I mean, it was such a wonderful program, and we felt so at home and so welcome. So thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, sir. So the last, I just would like to say that we all are, as I use Professor Ram's word, we all are justice enthusiasts. We all have been doing different things in our different spaces. Some of us may have a more impactful work, and that's the reason that I really wanted Gagan and Anup in this audience, that we can look up to you. You have demonstrated different models for all of us. Probably we need to come out with this kind of model, and sharing the best practices, what we all have been doing, documenting what we have been doing, and sharing these things is one of the most important thing. And probably Abhiraj is taking a keen interest when it comes to the sharing part and coordinating part, and creating a kind of a group which really help us to develop the community of justice educators. I, on behalf of Nirma University, on behalf of my faculty colleagues and students and the organizing team, convey my heartfelt thanks to all of you who responded to our invitation and participated in this two-day conclave. Being at different places, you spent 2 days with us. We are really grateful to you. Thank you. As a token of our appreciation, on behalf of all of us, all justice enthusiasts, we would like to appreciate you. Sharp at 5 o'clock, we end this program, and we'll have a group photo with the students, volunteers. They really would like to have a photo. Thank you. But you can have this IT, you can enjoy your IT and then we